with one inspiring woman, and today we are going for a ride and a chat. What we're really going to be talking about today is kind of like the energy of disease. So many times I have had so many clients that will come to me and be like, I have pain in this shoulder, and I'm like, oh, well, that's burdens from females, and they're like, or they will say, I have joint pain in this finger, and I'm like, oh, that's what this means, and they're just like, yeah. When we don't release the energy that we've been hanging on to, it stays around, and it really can cause a lot of physically parts coming forward. So it's like a physical thing. So like you hang on to the energy and it just hangs around, and so it might get a little stiff, or it gets a little, doesn't work quite right, or it gets, has a little hang up on it or whatever else, but eventually it will turn into something else. And usually the pain is letting you know, like, hey, there's a problem here. It's kind of like, hey, there's a problem here. We've got to fix or amend this. And a lot of times people just kind of ignore. And that's the big problem. That's the total big problem, is that they're ignoring that sign or that signal and ignoring it instead of working through it or finding out what does that part mean. And this kind of was brought really forward because I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was telling me about a friend who had passed, and that he had passed from cancer, and I was like, and I was like, hold on, with this guy's energy, he should not have passed from that. And he was just like, really? And I was like, okay, he had this, but it wasn't his. It meant that it came generationally from his family lineage. And he's the one who kind of like took it on for his family so that he would get sick, and hopefully that he'd be able to release it or let go of it. And not that he wasn't a bad person, he just wasn't able to let go of it in his family lineage enough not to affect him or hurt him. But he was one of those types of people that would bring on, like, if no one else can deal with it, let me do it. If no one else can deal with it, I'll do it. And that's kind of what he did for his family. And that's where I've seen this thousands of times in my business, talking to people. It's like they're taking it on, but it's not theirs. And sometimes that happens when an infant is passed too, that they'll decide, I'll be, I don't want to say the martyr because that's not really it, but kind of like, I'll take it on for the family so that no one else has to pass from this. And it really is, it's harsh on the family. It's harsh for them to have to deal with that. It really is. And I would say kind of the sad part about it is that it impacts the family in so many different ways, and so many different signs, and so many different issues. But you can see it a lot in families coming through generationally. And sometimes it only passes from the male side of the family, or sometimes the female side of the family. And so that's kind of something to be aware of. When something passes in your family, what is it, and how can we get rid of that energy, and how can we work through it? Because so many times people don't realize you have to work through it. It's not going to go away on its own. It's not going to be this, oh, it's not a big deal. You have to work on it yourself so that you don't pass that on to your children. And if you work on it, even if you have children that are born or older, it will fix it in them as well. So that's kind of one of the quirky side notes to this is, is that when you work on it for you, you can heal it not only for yourself, but you can heal it generationally coming forward. So your kids won't have to get it, your grandkids, your great-grandkids won't have to work through that same energy that you did. It's kind of like you've healed it for everybody. And that's an important aspect to know, is a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to deal with it, and I was like, okay, but what you're saying is you don't want to deal with it, is that your family's going to have to deal with it. Someone else in your family is going to have to take this on, because the energy is there. Someone brought this into the family, so it's kind of like someone brought this dirt into the house, and so it's got to be taken out by you or someone else. And if you don't take it out yourself, then someone else will have to do that for you or instead of you, I guess is the best way to put it. And that can be harsh because you know that you're going to be loving that person as they work through it, as they kind of go through this issue, because you're going to see it. You're going to definitely see it, and you're going to hear it, and you're going to know about it. And that's the hard part, is like, oh my gosh, this is the crazy part, that now because I didn't deal with this, someone else is going to have to deal with this part. It's harsh. And I've seen a lot of people go, oh my gosh, I can't, don't want to see someone in my family, suffer and pass from this. But it's one of those, but if you didn't take it on, then they're going to have to take it on, and you have to be willing to do the work to fix it and shift it and adjust it so that no one else has to. No one else is having to take on that negative energy and heal it. Backing into the driveway. So that's an important part to think about, is stepping up for not only for yourself but for your family as well, and kind of learning that once you deal with it, and you deal with it in a good, healthy way, that it's something that is not going to be have to be dealt with by someone else. That's the important part. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.